Hey, Trailblazers. There's always been one stop between Houston and the Guadalupe Mountains that has mattered to me the most, and that's my stop at Mom's Kitchen Express in Van Horn, Texas. Over the years, I've told our hiking community about this little gym out in West Texas and to swing by when they're heading to the Guads for a wonderful meal. For me, it was always a joy to stop by and hear Mr. Espinosa saying, "Another one of your hikers stopped by for a meal." They had to close the restaurant down for a couple of years due to family needs, but there's some exciting news. Mom's Kitchen Express is open once again. Same wonderful recipes, and it still feels like home. And it still carries the legacy of the man who loved this land as much as we do. So if you're heading out to the Guadalupe Mountains or just passing through Van Horn, make sure you stop by for a meal and to tell them hi from the Trailblazing Texas podcast community. Mr. Espinosa, you were missed. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. Oh man, Leah's going to be so pissed off. We're going to have to call for a rescue. So that really solidified the seriousness of this. And really, like at that, before that, I was like, oh yes, it's kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm thinking, yeah, this is pretty dangerous. And I need to kind of refocus, and we need to regroup and talk about like, hey, we need to make sure that we're staying with each other, because Henning could have easily slipped, fell, hit our head, and then, no one would have known where we were. So at that moment, until we saw you way ahead of us, I was panicking like, oh crap.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, I remember that now. This was before where I kind of would consider it started getting really sketchy. It was still relatively mellow, but we were having to either decide to go along the side or up on the top. And I just stopped to pee, and you guys were enough ahead. I should have just yelled out, been like, "Hey, I'm gonna pee. But I also I guess, didn't want to slow your guys' roll or whatever, and didn't feel that it was too sketchy of a place that we were at. And then I just popped up on top, and then I started getting a little nervous too. I mean, I was pretty sure I was gonna see you guys soon, but it did take a while for us to reconnect. And I felt a little bad about that. I should have communicated better, or just I guess better communication maybe is the lesson learned. I don't know.
But like even Lori says, y'all stay together, don't ever split up. But every time we hike, you hike with anybody, there's set times you're going to be not right next to each other, and so that panicked me. Henning, what about you?
Oh yeah, I was irritated. I was mad at you.
Oh, you were pissed.
I was mad at Jason.
Yes.
I was like, I didn't know that he couldn't see you. And my thing is like in off trail, on trail, it's fine. Like if you're on a trail, you can go quite a bit ahead. But if you're off trail, like 100 feet is miles. Because you can just walk right past each other and have no idea, and you won't hear each other and anything like that. And you're usually like really in your head. So when I realized that you kept walking without being able to see him, I was like, man, why did you do that?
I saw him, and then he stopped, and then I caught up with you, and I'm like, yeah, oh wait, where is he?
Yeah. So I was like, man, that's not cool.
And then I was mad at Sam for not yelling at me that he stopped. I'm like, if I'm going to get in trouble, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm really pedantic about that in the backcountry. Like, I really dislike being outside of eye contact, or not eye contact, but I don't like being unable to see the person behind me. And the other thing too is it doesn't have to be anything dramatic like falling, or hitting your head or anything. I mean, just rolling your ankle out there is it's gonna be really hard to, and it's gonna be something we have to deal with as soon as possible because time will be of the essence. Because if you're trying to get someone back on one leg, like that's gonna take hours and hours and hours from where we were. And the other thing that's hard that kind of gets missed is you're climbing over the rocks and scrambling and all that, but the bush out there is just unforgiving. Like everything's stabbing you and yeah, you're like squeezing between stuff that just it has this habit of like poking you in the back, like in the back of the hips, and then you like flinch and then you pokes you in the stomach, like you're just constantly getting stabbed by stuff out there. So yeah, I don't like to. I like to keep everyone as a group in the backcountry for sure.
Yeah, it's smart. It's also, it does seem like every trip we go on, it happens. And when I was on the PCT too, my brother and I would go, very long periods of time without seeing each other, which wasn't the smartest, but it's also, it's for some reason it's hard. It sounds easy to keep everyone together, but for some reason it doesn't ever happen. I don't know why. I guess it's the nature of people making their own decisions, and like that little decision to just go up on top of the ridge instead of down along the side of it was really what kind of split us up. And I saw that you guys are going along this side, so in hindsight, I probably should have just been like, well, I'm going to keep going along the side. But I was just sick of what you were just describing, getting poked and climbing over things. And then you come down the other side and it's a pile of leaves or whatever. And you end up, it just gets so frustrating out there that I just kind of was like, nah, I'm going to go on top. I think we'll run into each other soon enough.
Yeah, and going on top was definitely smarter. And I mean, if you do wait at like a checkpoint or kind of like if you're out there enough, kind of like they're gonna come through this area eventually, right? So you kind of know where to wait. But I'm just like super. I don't know. I get like really weirded out about that one in the backcountry.
It just reminds me of our lost trekking poles. Did Jason die?
Mm-hmm.
So to the listeners, I got yelled at by Henning because we were coming down. McKittrick Canyon, and I was going fast, and I was way ahead of them, and I fell a little bit, lost my trekking poles, and then they found my trekking poles and thought that I fell off the cliff. Then Henning got to the trailhead and yelled at me, "Here's your trekking poles, blah, 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 stay together." And I'm like, stay together like when we were going up and y'all guys left me, like that kind of stay together. So yeah, we have trouble staying together. All right. So if you kind of look at the trek as a whole, Sam, how did the terrain and the exposure actually feel compared to what you expected?
Yeah, I think watching that video, for some reason, I don't know what kind of camera he was using, but it's probably a wide angle lens I think, and in general, just always, it's kind of really hard to capture what the exposure is actually going to be like from a camera. And then his kind of relaxed sort of mentality, I wasn't expecting it to be as exposed as it was.
I watched the video going into it, and it looked like stuff I'd been through, so I kind of like skimmed through it. And we watched the video again afterwards, and like it was like, yeah, this camera is not telling the story. And like I said, and I mean, if you look at it on Gaia, at least the map overlay I have, there's 40-foot contour intervals for the lines, and that's pretty big. 40 feet, that's a long way to fall. So, and like I said, 15 feet is a long way to fall or drop. So when you get out there, there's no real way to tell from the contour intervals how steep it really is going to be, and then how much the rocks just like, it was just like this very uncomfortable height. You'd fall off, and it was like, and again, I don't want to get in trouble with Leah. Like, I don't want to have a rescue out there. I'm not
Yeah.
really going to roll the dice and have to have the park rangers come out and get us. I think that's really not cool. That's something I never want to have happen. So yeah, it was like just consistently at an uncomfortable amount of drop.
Yeah. I think for me, the terrain. So the biggest concern is when we got to and I only knew about one sketchy part, how the exposure, how I was actually going to feel when I got to it, because, I'm afraid of heights, and Henning can contest with that when we rock climb. And so my expectation was just, up until these points was just like, oh, this is just not a stroll in the woods, but like a stroll in the woods. And then we started hitting this exposure. So I can't really compare it to my expectations because I didn't expect it. But what shocked me was that through all the way up until we bailed, if I just took a breath, took my time, I had no fear of really any of it, which shocked me. And then I started kind of thinking that, is my fear when we rock climb and stuff, is it all related to the actual gear? And I start thinking, like, my thought process is the harness going to hold? Is the rope going to hold? But when I was there climbing on these rocks, or that time we down climbed, and then it kind of dropped into, it was about a 15-foot gap that you had to kind of get across, and there was cliff on either side of this 3-foot little indention. Like, I didn't feel, oh my God, or I just took a breath, took my time, and I felt fine. So that was really shocking to me, how I was able to manage, the exposure, and how I actually felt, which was pretty cool. So, all right. So Henning, was there a specific moment when continuing became a group conversation?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think we went around, we came around a ridge, and it was blind. We were blind to the other side of it. So I don't know how to explain that, but every time we came up to a ridge, we were hoping that the scrambling was over on the other side, but you couldn't ever see the rest of the ridge line. So you would complete the ridge you were on and get vision on the next ridge, and it was like, nope, scrambling all the way. So then we did that several times. And it was starting to get really slow. So I was keeping an eye on my watch. We got up early and started early, and I wanted to definitely be off by nightfall. And it's like 5 p.m. Yeah, 5 p.m. whenever it's dusk or whatever. So I was like, yeah, this sucks, but this is gonna super suck with headlamps.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to have any part of that. So it was kind of a culmination of checking the time, started to get to 2:00, and then we rounded a ridge, and it looked like, it was crazy to explain. It was like we were going to have to ridge run these giant blocks that were, and I don't remember how far the drop was on each side of these blocks, but they were just sticking out of the ground, enormous. And looking in my memory, it seems like it was like at least a 15-20 foot drop on each side. That's no joke. And it wasn't like 10 feet to flat. It was 10 feet to a very steep slope. So if you did fall that 10 feet, you were probably going to roll the rest of the way. And if you were going to stop yourself, it wasn't going to be like, self-arresting on snow. It was going to be what are those called? Yucca. Yeah, you're gonna slide in the yuccas and all these other things that are just stabbing the hell out of you. So that at that point, I was like, yeah, I don't think this is a great idea anymore.
And that's whenever we actually bailed, right? You're talking about that part.
Yeah, I'd been hopeful until then. I'd had it in my pocket that like I was looking for escape routes consistently for like the last 2 ridges. There weren't many though. I was actually starting to get a little worried because I was like, we can't bail here left or right. It looks like we're gonna have to go back. So that was the other thing. It was like keeping in mind how long it would take us to get back, and then if we could just get off the mountain left or right.
Yeah. I remember that part because it's exactly what you said. I was not going as fast as you guys, and so, of course, that delayed us getting as far as we wanted to go, but we got to that part, and I remember we're sitting there talking, and Sam drops off the ridge and starts walking to see if we can skirt it. He's walking on a grade that you're probably gonna slip to your death. But he goes and he goes, "Yeah, skirting around the other side, there's no way, it's too steep. This side, maybe you can crawl on all fours facing the mountain or something." But then he said, yeah, he came back, it cliffed out there, so we would have to go over those boulders, which probably, if we had plenty of daylight, wouldn't have been a big deal. Because, I mean, at that moment, when he said, yeah, we're going to have to go, and before you called it, I was like, all right, F it, let's do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, the wind is really picking up. This is going to be like, I am going to have to take my time under each boulder on the ridge, because the wind, and you're maybe trying to time a gust or something. So I wasn't panicking. I just said, F it, I can't stay here. So, and then it got into the conversation of, this is probably the only opportunity that we'll have to bail. And so what's the best course of action? So Sam, what were you thinking when you left the trail or left the ridge and walked out to see if we could skirt around it? I thought you were going to die.
Yeah, I think at that point I was pretty scared. I was concerned for sure because I mean that what you're describing, that ridge where you were kind of doing boulders, it looked like it went on for a long time, and you could from where we were, you could pretty much see everything we had to do still. We're like, we have to go over this one, and then I guess there was one kind of prominent peak sort of thing, and then you couldn't really see behind it, directly behind it. This is just my memory of it. Anyways, you couldn't see what was behind it, and then we are like, oh, now then afterwards we're gonna have to go up this whole other one back there. So we had a lot ahead of us to do, and I think it was the wind, a combination of the wind and how tired I was already. I just I just did not really feel comfortable going along the top of that ridge. And so I was like, well, we need to keep going. I'm just going to try and go along the side of this thing. And then after a little while, it became like a slab climb, a steep kind of like slick looking rock. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to go across that either. And I think you guys had dropped down at that point and you were a little ways behind me and we were talking, and Henning, I think Henning was basically just, pardon my French, but he's just like, I want to get off this fucking mountain. And I was like, yeah, I think I do too. And then I think we just basically made the call right then and we were looking down and we could see the little trail that we would take back to the thing. And so I think we were all pretty much in agreement that we just needed to get off of there because of the daylight ending, and what looked like was ahead of us was pretty intense. So that was my memory of it.
To the listeners, where Sam went to go inspect, which I couldn't watch because I just knew this wasn't going to be good. Henning and I kind of dropped down about, I don't know, 10 feet. And, on these adventures, I definitely feel that I have the freedom to voice any concerns, but I definitely don't like the decision making for me is between Henning and Sam. With their experience, I don't get in the way with that. I definitely, I feel, yeah, and the group dynamics, I feel that I have an opportunity to voice stuff and we all listen to each other, but the actual decision I put into their experience. And when Sam was heading off, I couldn't watch and Hennings, I was like, man, we need to get F off this mountain. We can't go to the backside. We can't do this, the wind, and we can't skirt it. We're running out of daylight. And, he's looking down and there's like a draw that kind of dumps out, flattens out, we thought, and it ran into a kind of like a dirt road and we could follow the dirt road to another road. And then we knew that, okay, theoretically supposed to be the gate to get out is locked. So we would go to the ranger station, which was, this is a whole nother story about how far actually it was because we walked forever. But we would get to the ranger station. We understood that, we wouldn't be able to drive out and we would just sleep there at the vacant ranger station. And so that was the plan that we decided on. So, Henning, you got anything to add?
The other thing about that was, like you said, you tend to defer some opinions, and I defer climbing to Sam, who's a far better climber than me. And when he was like, "I don't want to climb that," I was like, "Yeah, we're leaving now because there's no chance I'm going to try."
So I guess then you get into us actually heading down, and it ended up being about 2,800 something feet of a walk down butt slide. It was so steep and slick that you would endanger your lives and or the people that were below you because you're probably going to slip, fall, kick off rocks to the people. So that, that all started coming to our conversation. Henning or Sam, one of y'all went first and then the other one, and we were kind of doing like zigzags and just being leery of, if one of us kicked off a rock, that it wouldn't impact the people below us and stuff. So, Henning, what was your biggest concerns at this point when we started down?
Getting cliffed out because it was very steep and it's the exact type of terrain that you would see coming up, or you would see from the ground that there was cliffs. Like it has a lot of like bluffs and stuff in that area. And we had to go around and find cliffs and stuff and try not to end up on top of them.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I was pretty concerned at that point, going down that. Henning was concerned about getting cliffed out, and that wasn't something I was really even. I think I just sort of like in my head was just sort of like trying not to like think about that too much because I was like, well, that would be terrible. I mean, I didn't want to go down that line of thought of being like, oh, what if we get stuck? And it did seem like, from what I remember, I do kind of remember being able to see like a path basically all the way down, but it was very steep, and I think that was maybe the sketchiest part of the whole trip was getting down that. I mean, I think it was 3,000 feet, right, of scree almost. And so I just like, someone's gonna kick a rock and get hit, or someone's gonna like slip and break their leg up here. Yeah, so that was, I don't know. That was the scariest part of the trip for me, I think. And I was just trying to, and I was also so exhausted at that point already. I mean, we've probably been hiking for, I mean, we took breaks, but I would guess we've been going for 11 and 10, at least 10 hours, including hiking up that, 3,000 foot thing and all the bushwhacking. So I was really exhausted. And I just, I guess I was just trying to focus on keeping moving one foot in front of the other and trying not to like think too much.
So once we finally made the call and started going down, how did that impact your mindset? Like for me, I started kind of putting it in little compartments. I'm like, okay, I just need to get down to here, to that draw, to those, to that little forest. Then from that forest, it's only, I don't know, 300 or 400 yards to that little metal thing. And then, okay, then I can see the path to the main road, which I'm familiar with. So I got, okay, I just need to get here. And then I just need to get here. So it really helped me with kind of panicking and stuff, is just to break it up into small little objectives and make those things become a reality. And so what about you, Sam?
Yeah, I think I was almost like what I was saying before, that I was just sort of put one foot in front of the other. I wasn't quite so much focused on like, oh, now I'm gonna make it to the draw, then I'm gonna make it to this thing. I think thinking back on it, I was looking down at that canyon a lot and just being like, God, I wish I were already there. I wish I was at this canyon already. Because it took us a long time, I feel like, to get here.
Long time.
Yeah.
So Henning, what about you?
Yeah, I think I kind of compartmentalized it. But when I'm doing stuff like that, I tend to like look at my watch every 5 minutes, really every 3 minutes, and I'm like checking the yeah. But I don't know. I do like I'm always looking for cliffs and stuff. So yeah, that was the thing with it, right? It was like a 90. It seemed like a 90-10 kind of gamble because yeah, there's going to be cliffs, but you could kind of tell where they're probably going to be. It was pretty steep. You could see most of the way down, but it definitely had like where it would you couldn't quite see over everything. But it was like, yeah, I'm fairly sure that doesn't look like there's too many cliffs between that kind of like part where I can't see anymore and going on. And so then it just became yeah, just constantly checking the GPS, making sure I'm going in. I mean, it would be really hard to go in the wrong direction. So I was probably just doing it out of just like a nervous twitch kind of thing, just to kind of stay in it. But yeah, I was just trying to stay focused. Don't slip. Don't break an ankle. One step at a time. Just keep looking out for the next thing, which is kind of funny because, and then it wasn't too compartmentalized because it was just, I knew as soon as we hit the road, we were good. So it's like, just get to that road,
No.
and just kept aiming for it, kind of like relentlessly going for the road, making small decisions kind of because it's just like terrain can be so, there can be such a difference between trying to go over something that doesn't seem that hard to go over and going through like a draw that doesn't seem that hard to go through. But then you get in there and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so difficult. I should have done that. And then you get up on the thing to go over it because you're like, this was the wrong way. I'll try that. And then you get up there and you're like, oh my goodness, like this is so slippery. This, it was just a lot of that, trying to make the best decision every like 100 feet because the terrain would change dramatically. And then we ended up running into freaking waterfalls. That's just hilarious because like we got down off the whole thing and it was awesome. And then it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it was like we got all the way down and at the very bottom there was like this insane drop. And I was like, I guess we can slide down it. But yeah.
Yeah, and so just real quickly, looking back now, do you think that whole decision-making process, do you see it turning back as a setback, or was it a moment of strong judgment and teamwork?
I think it was, to me personally, it was the right decision. I don't think we maybe could have just gone back the way we came and not rolled the dice, but I think it worked out.
Yeah, it's hard to say because obviously what we did worked and everyone was safe. And so in that case, we made the right decision because who knows what would have happened if we would have gone the other two ways, you know? Yeah, it's impossible to say if it would have gone better the other way.
just the whole process that we worked together, came up with a plan, and executed. Great teamwork. So, all right. So now we've slid, golly, 2,000 and something feet on our butts. We didn't kill each other with rockfall. We were sliding through bushes, around bushes. You can't stand up and walk. It's too dangerous. We finally make it to the little draw that's full of forest. And I just knew this draw was going to be flat and perfect and we can just walk out. No, this draw was even more dangerous than anything that we've done already, because if you just think how massive this canyon is, it collects all this rainwater down into this draw, and the rock that is as smooth as a mirror, as slippery as ice, and we have to somehow navigate down this thing, not realizing that, like Henning said a second ago, I don't know how far that one was where Sam slid down and backpack fell in the water, but that's probably 25, 30 feet, maybe 20 feet. So we get to this. So you're trying not to slide on this, I don't know what kind of rock it is, slippery rock. You have all these trees that are falling down. You have all the stickers, all the bushes that are poking you and stuff while you're trying not to slip. I'm behind Sam. I don't know where Henning, I don't think you had already went. It was Sam, me, and then you. I don't know how that happened. And so I'm with Sam and he's holding his backpack and he goes, man, like we're going to have to slide down this whole thing. Well, at the bottom of it, it looked like just a pile of leaves. So he lets his backpack go and it slides and it just falls right into the stagnant pool of water. And he's like, oh shit. So then he just like takes off sliding down it to get his backpack that had his phone and everything out of this ass smelling water. And then, yeah, so talk about that, Sam.
The backpack still stinks, by the way. It smells so bad. Yeah, I was just so tired. I knew it was I knew it was like a big puddle of water. It's more than a puddle. It's almost like a little pond or something. And I think I was just so tired that I didn't really do the best job of just letting my backpack down first. So it was steep enough that I didn't want to be wearing my pack, so I took it off. I think we all did that. And I just didn't take my time lining it up. I just was kind of like, forget it, who cares, dropped it. And then it went in there with my phone and I have my stuff inside of hopefully waterproof bags. But yeah, that was not great. And it's still I've been looking up how to wash a hyperlight bag. Apparently I need scent-free and dye-free soap, which I can't find at my Walmart, so I still haven't got the right soap for it, and it stinks.
So after all this, Sam was nice enough to catch my backpack when I let it go. And then, you start sliding down this rock, and if you don't stop yourself, you're going to end up in the water. So, that was a whole nother thing was, Sam, help, grabbing onto him, saving us. And then Henning came down. But yeah, it was just, I don't want to say it was more dangerous, but it was just, you're exhausted. You see the finish line or, where you're going to be safe, right? You hit that road and it's just flat road walk. And, yeah, I mean, mentally I was done at that moment. And then to see how hard it was getting through that draw. And then, oh man, the getting to that point where we looked up and there was that metal building. Oh, and that's all, we knew the road was there and it was, that was a great part of the hike. So Henning, what was your best parts of the draw?
Well, I didn't actually know draws are, you should avoid them if you can. They're alluring because they always look doable, but they tend to kind of funnel you into stuff like waterfalls and they tend to get really steep. If you try to go up a draw, you'll tend to get into like a really steep area. So they're generally bad, but everything else was also really bad. So I think we just ended up in there, and it was like, yeah, I guess we can just hang on to the trees and stuff, because it at least gave us some stuff to kind of climb down with, which was good. But yeah, then we ran into those waterfalls, not active waterfalls. They'd been washed out, but it was just like you said, all the water comes down through there, and had polished all the rock and everything. So it was kind of cool. I have to say, there was like a few like big ones. It was just kind of like, and that one was kind of at the very end, that really big one. So it was like, as soon as you got to it, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't they put this at the very bottom?
Yeah.
It also would have required like climbing out. I remember it would have been a pain to go around it. So we pretty much were like, had to go down it. Wasn't that bad, but you could tell it was, yeah. And then it had that friggin' pool of water at the bottom, perfectly placed. So it's like, you're second guessing the way you're going to go down. So, but yeah, getting to that building was awesome.
So we get to the building, we take about a 5-minute break, and then we have the decision to make that we can walk this road and then at point X cut across the desert about a mile or two and then hit this main road and then kind of hike back to the ranger station, or just follow the road. It'll probably add a couple of miles to that main road and then hike back. And we chose to just follow the road all the way to that main road. We got on the main road. This is where I got pissed off at Henning. Yes, I can get pissed off at Henning. Even Sam, I think, was a little pissed off at Henning because he gave us, okay, it's only going to be 2 miles. And then like 45 minutes to 2 hours later, he's still saying, oh yeah, just 2 more miles. And, Henning was ahead of us, and by now it's pitch black dark, right? So we're walking. Well, Henning doesn't use a headlamp, but I was so mad at Henning that I know how to ruin his eyesight as I turn on my light to ruin that's how I get him back. So he's ahead of us, and Sam and I are just looking at each other like, he said it was only 2 miles. Yeah, we've been walking 6 miles. And so that happened about, I don't know, Sam, how many times did we second guess Henning's distances?
The way I remember it is,
Be honest.
This is honest. I'm always honest on here. I think I remember Henning saying it was about 4 miles from where we were. And I already kind of in my head was like, okay, yeah, 4 miles doesn't sound that bad, but after everything we had done already, like 4 miles is a long ways. And I knew it was going to suck. It was going to be hard, but I would say it was way harder. It was probably the hardest 4 miles of my life, to be honest. Yeah. My feet were covered in blisters, and it was just so never ending. I just felt like, yeah, it was just the never ending 4 miles. And I was like delirious at that point. I mean, I was so tired. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking straight. I was just, keep moving.
So Henning, what happened with the amount of miles? And it just seemed like they would never go down. Were you having problems with Gaia? Were you just doing it on purpose?
No, we did have a problem with Gaia at one point because we tried to do a shortcut and it wasn't real. So we just kind of went in a circle, and it was like, well, that was fun. So talk about compartmentalizing. I immediately like blocked that out of my mind because I was also really tired. My feet were killing me. And yeah, I was covered in, man, I'd had some wicked like thorns and stuff. I think it was what are those, yucca or whatever? Yeah. Had one of those stab me in the back of my calf, and my calf, like, it was all crazy swollen. It was like stuck in there, a giant piece. So I was like not super happy. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I reported accurate mileage. It was just taking forever. And I believe I said it was 2 miles to the gate. And then you thought I meant to the ranger station. So then we got to the gate and I was like, yeah, it's 4 miles to the station or something like that.
Look, all I know is I kept looking at Sam and he kept mouthing to me like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. So, and you know what? So, okay, so it's road walking. It's easy. We get to the gate, we cross the gate. Then, we have about another hour of walking, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it was. And what was funny is, you would just expect to see a light, like the ranger station at McKittrick would have some sort of light, something. And I remember we were crossing this little cattle guard and there was a light off in the distance. And I don't know what the hell it was, but it was a sign that somehow maybe one of our headlamps was hitting off. So I was thinking it's the ranger station and I'm all excited. Sam and I are high-fiving each other. We did it. And it was just a sign. And then I just said, I'm done with this crap. And, and you're walking and then you start to see, oh, wait, there's a parking lot and you still can't see the ranger sign or ranger station and you're right in front of it. And then I'm just like, okay, we're here. We made it. So once we got to the ranger station, Henning, how did you feel?
Super relieved. Yeah, I had it bottled up the whole time. I didn't want to think about it until I was actually there.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, I I was just most excited to have a toilet, to be honest, because I've been holding in the deuce for a while. You can cut that if you want, but
No,
yeah, I was very excited. And then I also had run out of water, so like I remember getting to the car, my car was there, and having a whole gallon of water, and then just realizing that we all made it and that we're all safe and that we could just go to bed. And so yeah, but I was so tired that like I was relieved, but it was hard to be, celebrating. It was sort of just like I'm just want to crawl into bed as fast as possible.
So to the listeners, if you're familiar with McKittrick Canyon Ranger Station, I slept on the bench. I think at first Sam slept behind me on the ground, and then Henning slept across from me on the ground. So I was the only one on the bench, and I probably should have been on the ground because, you have to worry about rolling and stuff off. Well, the wind didn't let up. So the whole time we were trying to sleep, the wind's cutting through that opening of the ranger station. I don't know, 25, 30 miles an hour every once in a while. And you would hear hitting or Sam's blankets like blow. If you got off your air mattress, it would blow into the cacti. Like the wind was blowing strong. It didn't impact me too much because the bench that I was on on one side was kind of sheltered by the wall, but also it kind of bent in. So that little walkway that you walk down, it was, to the side of that. So what about you guys? I know you guys changed your sleeping location. So Henning, what spurred you to get up and move?
It kept blowing my quilt off. It was driving me insane. Like you could not fall asleep. As tired as I was, I just couldn't fall asleep because the wind just every time you'd start to fall asleep, it was absolutely ripping, and it was just howling and moving all my stuff. I know I ended up by that video. I was like in the little rock pictures thing.
So Sam, what about you? How did the wind impact your sleep?
Yeah, I think I was so tired when we first got there that I passed out for like I don't know how long, maybe an hour. But I definitely woke up pretty quickly because of the wind. It just continuously blowing my quilt off and getting freezing cold. And so I saw Henning over next to the wall, and I was like, well, this isn't working. So I think I got up and used the restroom again and was like, okay, I'm just going to go next to the wall. And I was able to, like, I think it was better than where I was at, but I think Henning ended up finding the sweet spot. So if you ever need to crash out at that visitor center, go over by the
Video.
video and the kiosks. I don't know, which maps kind of to the right.
So as we kind of start to wrap up, Henning, this question's for you, and then Sam, you can jump in. So what did this hike teach you about expectations versus reality?
I don't know. When I hear someone say it's just a little bit of class 3, maybe class 4 scrambling, next time I'm going to just say class 4. And they're probably a madman who will run that ridge.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I think I've been in a lot of situations where I don't know what it is about me, but I don't typically prepare as much as I should. And I think expectations versus reality, I think anytime, yeah, like kind of like what Henning was saying, like anytime someone says it's a third or a fourth class hiking route, do a lot of digging, you know? Like I just watched a video and was like, "Oh, made it look easy. He thinks it's easy." I've done third, fourth class stuff before. From what he's saying, like it doesn't seem that bad. But, you know, after the trip I read there's a longer PDF about it saying those are the hardest miles in Texas. And I read a PDF that went more in depth on the trail. And but it is hard. It's sort of like you can look at the topo, you can watch the video, but it's sort of it's it's hard to get a accurate picture in a accurate, I guess, expectation. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's hard to really know what something's like before you get there. In general, I think I had done a few third and fourth class things. Even like I did a ridge that was fifth class in Colorado. That was really scary. And I think in preparation for doing something like this, I would have liked to have been doing more third and fourth class like day hikes just and stuff like that. Just to get in the headspace of being of knowing, remembering what it's like and getting in better shape and like just yeah, being more prepared in general.
I think for me is to try not to have any expectations and be ready for anything and everything. And it's, I think exactly what you said, Sam, is getting yourself ready. Like, don't have expectations. Oh, I don't need to get in shape for this, or I don't need to do this or do that. Like full blown research, get into shape, start handling things that way. So, Henning, what did this trek reinforce to you about the Guadalupe Mountains?
But there's a lot of sharp plants.
Yep.
And then it's mountains. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I think they're no joke, you know. And every time I think that quad trip when we did that, I remember afterwards being like, that's the hardest hike of my life, hands down. And then after this one, I thought the same thing. So if you're getting out there and you really want to push yourself, like they're intense. And I think a lot of what makes the ones that we've done intense is the bushwhacking. Like if you're gonna stay on trail, it's maybe not so bad, but once you start bushwhacking and going through all the sharp plants and getting poked it's almost like every step you're getting poked by these things, and it's just exhausting.
For me, it just reinforced that you have to earn your experience in the quads. You know, like she's going to take your blood. She's going to push you to the limits, and you have to earn it. And it has a lot of pokey things. So, Sam, what do you think we did well leading up to the hike, during the hike, just being together as a team? What do you think we did rather well?
I think in general, all three of us, even when we're struggling and having a hard time, we're all none of us can. I think I don't know. I still enjoy you guys' company even when we're going through all that the struggles. And maybe if maybe someone else, if they were with us, um, I don't know, would make the experience something that that I would never want to do again. Although I don't know if I'd want to do that again. But and what did we do well? I mean,
I think we work well together. Like, we know our roles. Like, we all listen to each other. We all validate each other's concerns. We know our roles. We know our place. We all have a job to do, and we do it. And I think that allows us to be always successful, whether we reach the objective or not. Henning, what about you? What do you think we did particularly well for this hike?
Yeah, I would agree on that. I thought it was for as much as everyone was like, oh, it hurt, and I had blisters all over and I was, nervous about my abilities and all that. At no point was it like, did anyone have to drag someone through? Everyone carried their weight. And like you said, we did our roles, however you want to explain them. But, but yeah, there was no fighting. There was no it was fine. Like, it's a lot harder to get into something like that if someone's panicking or people won't listen or people have a lot of ego and want to fight and argue and all that. It was like, we're going to try. We did our best. This really sucks. we're way out there. We're in a lot of pain. This hurts and this is sketchy, but we're going to do it. And we got to the bottom and it was like, cool. And then we just walked off. So yeah, that was cool.
And so would you define, or how would you define success now after experiencing a hike like that? And for me, and it's not directly related to this hike. It's just some other things that we've done. Like, for me, I don't give two shits if we reach the objective, right? Like, success for me is that all three of us are together and we take that first step on the trail or that first step off trail. Whatever happens after that, it's all about the journey. It's about our camaraderie. It's about not staying together and Henning's getting mad. It's about me turning on my headlamp to ruin Henning's sight. It's about giving Sam a wag bag. That's success. Any of that happens, we won. So what about you guys? Henning, you could probably kick it off.
No. I think in general, success is, going as far as you're willing to go and getting out safely. So, like, if you do that, you had a good time, you had an adventure. Yeah, that's success.
Sam, what about you? Do you define success any differently after this hike?
Yeah, I don't know if I would define it differently specifically after this hike, although having this conversation right now, it makes me, I don't know, it makes me real proud of what we did and thinking back, because I hadn't thought in detail about this trip very much since the trip. And hearing all these stories, it's like, I mean, that was actually a really pretty crazy thing we did. And so I'm proud of what we did. But I do remember afterwards um, feeling a little disappointed that we weren't actually able to hike the whole ridge. And that felt like a little bit of a failure. Yeah, it's funny that we're doing this podcast because I was thinking about it a little beforehand. I was like, well, we're gonna basically get on there and tell the whole world how we failed. We failed at doing this ridge. But the most important thing, hands down, always obviously is everyone getting out safe. You know, that's way more important than doing the ridge. Okay, I mean, it's cool if you can do something like that, but is safety is always, you know, you don't want to see your friends get hurt. That's the most
Yeah.
important. But I think it would be really cool to actually accomplish it and make the whole thing.
You saw the next question.
I didn't, but I was wondering if you're gonna ask that, as if we'd ever do it again. I would like to go. I would like to try and do it. Who knows when?
No.
And maybe that won't happen. But I was actually randomly ran into one of my hiking buddies out here, and we were talking about maybe trying to plan a trip to go do it. So we'll see.
Yeah. So that's I would like to do it again, but go the other way and at least get to the part we haven't done. I would really want to do that. So Henning, what about you? Are we doing it again?
I would try it going the other way. I wouldn't. The way we went was
get the shitty part over with.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, someone was saying we should go the other way, but they got talked out of it. I don't remember who that was, though. But yeah, I think.
Who was saying that we should go the other way?
Fairly sure I said that. I'm not 100%.
All right. So to the listeners, looks like we're going to try it again. So last question. Oh, real quickly. This is my favorite picture of all time that I've ever taken. And it was of this trip. And that's you and Sam at that road where we're just beat down to hell. I put it to some really awesome music and had a little saying. And every time I see that picture on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, I start tearing up. So to the listeners, if you don't have hiking and backpacking friends that you can take a picture of and you have experienced something together, shared blood, pulled out thorns, whatever, wag bag sharing, whatever, and you don't look at that picture and tear up, you either need to get different hiking friends or I don't know what to tell you, but that's how much these guys mean to me. All right, last question. Sam, what advice would you give to anybody else that would consider this trek, this route, this ridge walk?
If you've never done anything third class before or fourth class, go do something like if you go do something you can do like as a day hike, a relatively easy one, and like get some experience and like kind of know what it's like before you commit to going this many miles out to something like that. Get some experience with that, and you might be like that guy in the video, and you don't get freaked out, and you just cruise through it. I have friends who could probably have cruised through that thing, but yeah, try and get some scrambling experience and some real world experience before you commit to doing something like that. And maybe if it's super windy, don't wait till try and do it when it's a little less windy.
Henning, what about you?
Yeah, I'd agree. Probably do some third class practice first, third and fourth class. I would probably say don't try it. If you're going to go out there, I'd say probably just go from Bear Canyon to the antenna and back if you're going to do anything out there.
Yeah.
The rest of it, yeah, if you know you can do something like that, then I guess give it a shot. But yeah, it's no joke.
I would say don't do it alone. And if you're not in the upper level of experience, not hiking, not backpacking, but off trail scrambling, if you don't have that in your tool belt, yeah, don't do it. Get it in your tool belt. Get, like me, get that A team around you where you all have trust in each other. The experience, like I don't have that experience, but Henning and Sam do. Get you a group of friends that y'all have experienced this kind of stuff together. And last thing, Henning, what was the one thing that you said that was really nice after we finished?
I have no idea. Can't remember. No, it was, I was really impressed you didn't panic. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. If you go to also, I think you're BSing about the gear at the climbing gym because I've seen you.
I'm not.
Well, I know you have gear fear, but what I'm saying is that's not the reason, because I've seen you get on a bouldering wall and be like, nope. And I'm like, it's a V2. Like you're 2 feet off the ground. Like, stop.
That's too high.
Yeah. And then, so I was really nervous because I was like, Jason's going to panic here and freeze up. And I have no idea why you have any fear at the gym whenever you did the exposed crazy scrambling you did there. Cause it's like, man, that was crazy. And, but yeah, like I said, you didn't panic at all. And yeah, I was really impressed.
Yeah. And, to the new listeners, I know you always hear me say, Henning sometimes is jerky and doesn't say a lot. That really meant a lot when he said that right after a hike. He does love me. All right, guys, I am going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. I love it. I enjoy it. We need to do this more often. Any parting words before we depart?
Always wear gaiters in the backcountry.
All right, Sam, you got any parting words?
Yeah, watch out for the new boot. But I guess I just want to say thanks for putting this all together, because this is really fun. It was fun remembering this whole adventure we went on. Yeah, go out there and do some sketchy stuff. Don't get hurt.
All right, I love you guys, and I will holler at you later. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.